Hi, this is Tommy, the creator of Bracks magnetic construction toys. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to start out with our main structure we made in another video. We're going to add some additions on, and we're going to add a floor and a second floor. I hope I have enough pieces. All these videos are unedited and I just start building and see what I come up with. So let's see what we can build here. That's very cool. I'm going to take that ceiling off. Take this wall off. What I'd like to do is make a bump out. Let's put a garage on, which I had made in a bunch of other videos just because it's a neat addition to put on your structure. So I'm going to use some support connectors. The reason I use support connectors instead of 1x2s, which I explained in some of the other videos, is that the support connectors have a 1/4 inch off the top and bottom. And you're going to need that in order to set a ceiling down on that. In the end, I might end up trading these out for some ceiling corner connectors if I need some more stability. But we'll get to that when we get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bump out for the garage there. And I'm also going to make the wall on this side. To do that, I'm just going to use some standard corner connectors at the bottom. Snap that on there. Snap one on there. I'm going to use some support connectors to connect this. And I'll use another window piece because I have it handy. I'll put that there. I'm going to use a ceiling corner connector in that corner because we're going to need some stability for this roof, or the ceiling, or the floor, however you want to look at it. I'm going to use another one right there. Now what we want to do is make a floor here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use these 3x6 pieces. Right here I'm using the framers sets, which are 4x6. It gives you a little extra height if you want to use some action figures or if you want to use some toy dolls and play with them as you would a dollhouse. So here I'm going to use these. These are going to make up our floor. Same thing, I'm going to use some support connectors. I like using these pieces because they give me some clearance when I want to build something else. Sometimes I need that clearance, and sometimes I don't know if I'm going to need it, so I just start out using those support connectors. So I put those together like that, and here you can just snap that in like that. We've got a support connector right there, and that's why they're called support connectors, because now we have support for our roof, or our floor, or our ceiling. I'm going to do the same thing to make a floor for this half. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to trade that out. I'm only going to use a half of a piece. That's a 3x6. I'm going to pretend like we have a staircase up here. So what I'm going to do is take the same thing. I'm going to use my 3x6, put a support connector in there. I'm going to put that piece there. Now I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. On the back, I don't have another magnet there to make a good connection here. So putting this here, it's going to be difficult to get good stability. So what I want to do is I'm going to trade out that support connector. What I'm going to do is replace it with 2 ceiling corner connectors. That'll give me a little more stability. I'm going to put that there. Now that's real sturdy. And we have a connector down here that's keeping these walls together. I'm going to also put that there. What that's going to do is give me a little more support for this smaller piece when I set it down, which I'm going to do right now. It's a lot easier if you do it in parts. Put that there, and snap that in. So there we have your floor, or your ceiling if you were a little person sitting inside there. So we have your floor, we have a little space to pretend there's a staircase. Now we're going to start building a second floor, which is pretty easy when you have a structure that's has the sides without any additions and they're all equal width and length. So what we're going to do is use some floor corner connectors, called that because you can make floors with them. Sometimes you don't have to use 4 on every corner, but we're going to do it now since we have the pieces. And it makes the structure more sturdy, but it's not always necessary, as I explained in some of the other videos. I'm going to use some windows back here, because I think the framers windows are pretty cool. I'm going to use that there. To connect those, I'm going to use a support connector. I wouldn't necessarily have to use that. I could use if I had several handy, and it would make the structure a little bit more sound, I could use another floor corner connector. I could stick that right there, and that would connect. But you would leave this piece hanging there. You'd either have to use one of these behind there, which isn't that elegant of a solution. So what I'd like to do is take that out. It'll be plenty strong if I just use another support connector there. I'm going to put another support connector there. On the walls, because you know I like them, I'm going to use another window piece. And on this wall, I'm going to use another window piece. The front, I would make just the same as this back, but for right now, I'm going to leave it open so you can play with it with your action figures or your toy dolls. So I'm going to leave this like this and put a quick roof on. And the way I'm going to do that is use just some standard corner connectors like this. I'm going to put that there, put that there, put that in the corner, and put that there. Now to make this roof, now we're looking at a roof that isn't, you could put two of these on, and you'd be able to do that. You might have some stability issues you'd have to resolve because butting these two against each other might make some stability. You might have to put some post pieces, maybe like that. You'd put those in there and that would help support this piece if you had two roofs. Or I can make one long sloped roof. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera back a little bit so we can get a nice view of what we're doing here on the second floor. And that's a little better. So what we're going to do is put this roof on here, bump it up a little bit more. I'm going to put this roof on here. I'm going to make it double width. So I'm going to keep this piece that already has an end gable. I took that piece off, and I'm actually going to take off that ceiling corner connector. But what I'm going to do is make another piece just like that. And maybe I'll do something a little bit more fancy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this window piece. I'm going to pretend it's not a window, but it's going to be a skylight up on the top in this room. So I'm going to take this piece and take my ceiling corner connector. I'm going to snap it in there, snap it like that, and don't forget we need to leave that magnet out so we can put the end gable on. And for now I'm going to use this corner connector here to keep it stable while I show you, but I'm going to have to do something differently to connect these two. But I'll get my large end gable and I'll snap it on there for now. So now we have our two halves. We have this one, then we have this piece here. That's going to create that end gable, or that half of the roof. So what we're going to do is now figure out how to connect these two halves to make it nice and sturdy. I showed you in another video how to do that when I made a half deep garage, and I needed to use smaller halves to make that sloped roof for the half deep garage. And I'll show you what I used. I used the double corner connector, which is 2 times the standard corner connector. It's going to make this connection for your two halves a lot more sturdy. We're going to snap that piece there, snap that there. Now we're nice and sturdy. I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to remove that ceiling corner connector that I had for the gable for our other structure. I'm going to snap that piece in there, and I have to set this on the table to get a nice level surface, and then we're going to use that there. I'm going to show you something else I'm going to do. I'm going to move down just a little bit. In order to make that connection stable, this is a nice stable connection, but we're going to have to connect these with something. And what we're going to use to do those are one of my favorite pieces. Sport connectors. There's a sport connector and there's one. For this structure we probably could get away with using the 1x2s. It's not going to cause any interference with anything, but we'll use these since I have a ready supply. So we're going to snap that on. Now we have a pretty stable structure. Question is, when we put it up here, how's it going to be supported? Actually, I'm going to flip those. I'll show you what I did. I flipped these around, these would be like this normally. I'm going to flip them around so we don't see them. We'll see how that works. So here's my roof piece, my double roof piece. There's my skylight. I'm going to set it on top. I already put my end gables on, and look, it fits pretty nicely. It's really stable. Even though we don't have a support here, it's still pretty stable. And you could leave these walls open so you could play with it with your action figures or toy dolls. And that's what I'm imagining doing with this one. That's why I didn't put any walls in here. You could, of course, snap some walls in there just to make the structure look complete if you weren't going to use some action figures to play with it. But let's say this wasn't that sturdy for one reason or another, depending upon how you build it. You could use these, and that could make a little make that a little more supportive by using some floor connectors. I could put that there. I could put that there. Tuck it under. Then I've got some support there. I could do the same thing with the other side. I could use this support connector, put that there, and I could use that there. And I actually have a piece that's exactly that same size in the framers set. I could use that piece right there, and we could make it real stable. I lost my floor. So let's take that roof off. I pushed a little too hard on that floor, and as I mentioned before, that's a difficult connection right there because you're lacking some support. If I wanted to play with this, I would probably put a little support under here to help it. But since we're not, this will do. I bumped it a little too hard when I put that down. So what I'd like to do now is use that, and that's going to help us stabilize this roof. Let me put this roof, well, what I'm going to do, I actually like to put, if I put a support connector, right there, I think I'm going to get a little more support. And I might even get a little more help if I use that, since it has the extra height to let that roof rest on there. Let's see how that works. So here's my double wide roof. I set that on there. I set that on there. Let's move that under. I think it's sitting up too high. I think what I need to do is replace that with the original way I thought I'd have to build it, with that support connector. Let's put that there. There we go. Now we've got support for the middle. We still have access here to play with our action figures. And again, that piece that fell down there, if I was going to play with action figures here, I might support that a little better. And that way I wouldn't have to worry about it falling. But we have a pretty stable structure here. Sometimes you make a structure and it's not particularly stable and you have to make some modifications if you want to play with it. But this one, it's a pretty good structure. You can move it around. Those floors are pretty good. Roof's pretty good. You could play with this. So there's your two-story house with access for playing, the front door, and a garage door. If you want to see how to build some other structures, you can go to YouTube and check out our channel, or you can go to clickclackbracks.com, and I'll have the videos up on the website there as well. So until then, until the next building, build something cool with Bracks. Thanks.